A cost-plus contract, also known as a cost reimbursement contract, is a type of construction contract where you'll get paid for all of your construction-related expenses, plus a specified amount of profit. In this video, we will discuss the pros and cons of a cost-plus contract so you can make the best decision for yourself and your business. Let's first go over how a cost-plus contract actually works. In reality, you don't actually get reimbursed for any and every expense. You'll need to justify and show evidence proving that the expense is related to your job. There are typically 3 types of costs that come into play: direct cost, indirect cost, and profit. Let's break each of these down a bit. Direct costs are the actual cost. This is the money that is spent to complete the scope of work under the contract. These can include things such as labor, materials, equipment, and so on. Indirect costs are essentially overhead costs. These are costs related to business operations such as office space rental, insurance, transportation costs, and more. If you're trying to get these costs covered under a cost-plus contract, you may get some pushback from the customer. But generally speaking, some overhead costs could potentially be included. Lastly, profits. This is pretty self-explanatory. Profits will be calculated as an agreed-upon percentage of the contractor's direct cost. Now that you know how a cost-plus contract works, let's dive a little deeper into the pros and cons. Cost-plus contract benefits. One of the main advantages to cost-plus contract is that it is usually budget-friendly. You won't have to worry too much about comparing the cost of different materials because the cost will be reimbursed by the customer anyways. Plus, this takes the hassle out of estimating costs on the project, especially if there are still some lingering unknowns before the project begins. That way, the project can start quickly, and when the costs arise, they will be reimbursed as the project progresses. Another advantage to this type of contract is the ability to put a spending limit or cap on the amount the contractor can spend for the project. Also known as the guaranteed maximum price, this is particularly useful for property owners who are looking to maintain a tight budget. Although these are some great benefits to cost-plus contracts, it's important to keep in mind that there are drawbacks as well. If you're working under a cost-plus contract, you'll need to keep thorough records of all expenses to justify the cost. If you're not super organized, this can create some serious issues. Another issue, which we hinted at earlier, is that it's tough to get indirect costs covered, and property owners typically don't want to cover a contractor's business expenses. As a contractor, you'll want to be sure that a plus is enough to cover indirect costs while leaving enough profit. Cash flow can also be a potential problem under a cost-plus contract. Contractors will initially have to pay for things out of pocket and then get reimbursed. This can potentially create a lot of cash flow issues if you're not careful. And the last major drawback to a cost-plus contract is related to the total contract price. And this works in 2 ways. The first is that since you know exactly how much profit is going to be made, there is no way to increase profitability by cutting costs. If anything, this will actually lower the amount of profit since it's tied directly to a percentage of your direct cost. On the other hand, the drawback for customers is that there is no incentive for the contractor to keep costs down. After all, this is a cost-plus contract. The more cost, the more profit. Unless there is a spending cap, costs will need to be closely monitored by the customer. We hope this video has been helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you learned something new in this video. If you have any other questions, head over to levelset.com to get payment help from our lawyers or live chat with one of our payment experts. If you want to see more construction payment videos, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And remember, payment help is here.